Nathan Wilbanks and Alex Swanson on artificial intelligence, marketing, writing, and thinking, and the romance of an entrepreneurial journey together. Nathan Wilbanks and Alex Swanson are the founders of BizOp Media, a content and strategy-driven marketing agency headquartered in Fort Collins. In 2021, Nathan departed BizOp to develop new ideas and eventually founded Jack and Jill, a subscription-based AI-powered writing tool focused on the collaborative power of an AI tool and a thoughtful content creator. We get deep in this one, deep into the utility and limitations and dangers of ChatGPT and OpenAI and the various iterations, and deep into the relationship between Nathan and Alex, who have been together since Alex was in junior high, and they had a baby together shortly after she graduated high school while Nathan operated a high-end custom motorcycle shop. This episode brings great discussion about human intelligence, artificial intelligence, and relational intelligence, plus business and family with a pair of authentic and inspiring entrepreneurs. So please join me in welcoming Nathan Wilbanks and Alex Swanson.
Let's have some fun.
Welcome to the Loco Experience podcast. On this show, you'll get to know business and community leaders from all around northern Colorado and beyond. Our guests share their stories, business stories, life stories, stories of triumph and of tragedy, and through it all, you'll be inspired and entertained. These conversations are real and raw, and no topics are off limits. So pop in a breath mint and get ready to meet our latest guest. Welcome back to the Loco Experience. This is your host, Kurt Baer, and today I'm with Nathan Wilbanks and Alex Swanson, and these guys are the owners and operators of a couple of businesses, BizOp Media and a new one, Jack and Jill. And so I think let's just start by, why don't you guys describe what you're up to right now and maybe just a hint toward what you've been working on.
You want me to go first?
Sure.
All right.
You've got the tenure here.
Yeah. Okay. So, well, just a little background. Nathan and I are married, and we have collaborated a lot in business since the dawn of time, it seems like. We started a digital marketing company, BizOp Media, and essentially I run that full time now.
Yep.
And we specialize a lot in content marketing and organic marketing. So less to do with like paid ads and things like that. We really like to build an organic, thoughtful marketing strategy for companies to reach their ideal target audience.
So that's like a combination of maybe email marketing and also just SEO type things to
blogging,
just
social
create
media,
the audience
telling the story.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Not always be beholden to the pay-per-click.
Yep, exactly.
Okay. And then, Nathan, what are you I know you've been working on a number of things and kind of...
I kind of left BizOp, I guess, late 2021.
Has it been that long?
Yeah. So, I mean, I felt like it was in a good place. We put out, some really good projects and stuff, and I just felt like I needed to change. So for a while, I kind of felt like, I don't know if you've ever seen The Office, but
sure.
There's a guy there.
What kind of American would I be if I hadn't seen The Office?
The David Wallace, when he leaves the company, he kind of goes crazy and he creates, what was that company called?
Suck It.
Yes. Yeah, he creates Suck It, just some crazy off the wall thing, and everybody thought he was crazy, and then he ended up selling it for millions of bucks. But that's kind of how I felt, because I left BizOp, which was very stable. It was growing. We were doing good stuff, and I feel like I looking back, I did I kind of abandoned it. I left just in
it
search.
Suffered for your departure.
Yeah, it did. I definitely didn't give the support I should have whenever I left. Really, Alex had to take on the reins and just figure it out. And I was there for consult, but I definitely could have made it easier. But I mean, in the pain, I think it's grown BizOp because it's seen what we're really good at. Because some of the things that I was piecing together manually on the background that nobody even knew about. It's one of those things to leave like, oh my God, why is that process falling apart? Nathan was doing some shit in the background, taking care of it, whether it be a technical automation or stuff like that. But I left BizOp, and now I'm into artificial intelligence.
Yeah.
So the project I've got going on now is an AI writing assistant, and it initially started as a outline generator kind of for BizOp, just kind of like a little side project, and then it's grown and grown and grown into the point where, I mean, now we have several thousand agencies using it, and it's creating content that it blows us away every single day. It's getting really good.
I have to say, the first time Alex showed me some samples was probably like last fall, and I was like, what? That's better than my writing, you know?
And I produced it in like 20 minutes.
Yeah.
It was crazy.
Does that freak you out, or does it make you happy, or both?
It's super exciting. To a degree, as a writer, at first I was like, there's no way it's going to be as good as a writer. This is bad for writers. I had all of those skepticisms. And then using the tool, it has expanded my mindset on what is possible with writing.
I want to know, because I was at a podcast convention this past month, I guess, or 6 weeks ago, and there was a lot on AI and ChatGPT and stuff. Like, what's different about what you're working on than just kind of the out of the box ChatGPT, and why can't I just use that? Because that's pretty near free, right?
Yeah, and you could. One of the main differences really is our target is specifically for organic SEO blog articles. So if you're looking to create extremely high quality, much higher quality than just typing in a prompt for ChatGPT is going to provide in a quick succession, then that's really where Jack and Jill comes in.
Oh, and you can kind of build layered content and kind of like, because it's built on the outline foundation, it can kind of go from point to point. It isn't just like ChatGPT, what is God? Write me a 2-page report.
Well, and that's the thing. I always say an AI is only as good as really what you're giving it on the input. And a lot of people, they're using ChatGPT. Hey ChatGPT, write me an article about XYZ, and that's very surface level. We've done a bunch of studies where typing in even a target audience. So having people in Florida, for example, could be the target audience, or imagine, influential, high wealth individual,
small business
owners looking, who love luxury lifestyle, who enjoy boating in their free time. Like, how detailed can you get to give that AI more information? To pack it back into that article, and that's what our tool does automatically. So it makes it easy.
And then on the SEO front, is it like based on what you can learn on public data, what words are cost what and being found easily and stuff like that, you can kind of intentionally load those keywords or whatever? Yeah, and it still allows a lot of flexibility for the writer, because that's one thing that we've kind of gotten feedback is a lot of people don't want to have the freedom taken away. So, they're kind of honestly at the end of the day worried about, AI taking their job. So at some point it's skepticism, like, I don't want to lean into it too much. I still want to have some control here, because if not, it's what's the point of them paying me $50,000 or $70,000
exactly.
a year?
But beyond even just that, I think it really does help, because the AI can't read your mind yet. It's only as good as the information that you're giving into it. So that's really where our system comes in. It's super intimidating for a lot of people to start with just like a blank ChatGPT screen. It just has, one input's like, well, I don't know,
I don't even know where to start.
Sure, you can ask a bunch of questions, but we really take that out of the picture. So really our tool, I love ChatGPT. I use it, I pay for it. So it's a great tool, but it's more of a generalist tool, and ours is very specific to content writing, long-form content writing for like marketers, small businesses, people who are looking to play the SEO game. And
it's important to note, too, that it automatically formats it for SEO results. So there are a lot of little bitty details that go into a good SEO article, and it automatically formats it for you. So you can come with pretty much zero prior knowledge to how SEO works, and it's formatted for you.
And what I think I like about what you're saying there is, because your target is kind of the agencies, so that they don't have to spend 100 hours learning about ChatGPT to make use of it. They can just use it, right, and be trained on how to use the Jack and Jill tool or whatever. One question I was just thinking about, and I just slipped my mind. Oh, is the large language model that powers your tool, is that the chat thing? And you're just tapping into that? Or have you got a different...
So the Jack system's actually using several different large language models. So we actually did just integrate the Chat GPT API, which is amazing and super fast. Actually, out of all the things that it does, surprisingly, the chat is one of my least favorite things. So our chat on the application for us, ours is not using the Chat GPT API. It's using a different one. But yeah, we use several different ones. Some closed source models.
So there's like subscription-based kind of other large language models that are out there, not just one big open source that's raising all the eyebrows.
Yeah, and
Fair.
I mean, OpenAI has obviously led the way with. They've been out for a while. Their GPT system's been out for a while. I've been using their API since late 2021, so it's not something that's like super new, but ChatGPT as a product kind of brought it into the forefront because it was just so easy. I mean, it's literally just one little chat.
It's like
thing.
Google.
And you just punch some stuff in there, which I think is good, but the same limitation happens with Google. People they don't always know what they need to search.
So Alex, is BizOp in some ways was kind of a beta customer for
Well,
Nathan, and were you kind of like eager to do that after he abandoned you?
I mean, I was actually super excited because I felt like it was a compromise after he abandoned me and I was drowning in work.
We're going to come back to that story, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was kind of half abandoned, half kicked out, but
Right.
we'll talk about that later.
That's true.
But yeah, I was super excited to find a solution that would help me streamline all the work I had on my plate all of a sudden.
Yeah.
And on top of that, it was fun as a writer to be able to have my hand in exactly what I wanted in a software. I've never been able to do that before. And I brought one of my friends, Taylor Hill, who's also a writer in, and we basically, everything that you see in Jack, I mean, we basically told him we wanted.
Yeah.
And so it has been really nice
Yeah.
to have a tool built exactly for what we use it for.
Yeah.
Or what
Yeah.
we need.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. It's a writer's tool
Yeah,
in many respects.
built by writers. Well, built by Nathan,
For a
directed by writers.
writer. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely Alex, and I mean we've got almost 2,500 different writers and agencies on the tool now, and we just released the alpha version. I think it was Valentine's Day.
Oh wow.
So
Okay.
about a month ago.
Yeah.
So it's
exciting.
It's growing fast, and we're getting a lot of feedback, and it's definitely.
I want to circle back
moving.
to kind of the where you want to go and where you're taking BizOp and things. But before we do, I want to think about. I was thinking just now about when we really started getting acquainted, Alex, because we were acquainted from being next door neighbors at one point in business. But at one point, you were like, "I want to be in a local think tank chapter 2," and Nathan was a member, and you're like, I'm kind of running it more than he is now. And I was like, oh, is that so? I did not know.
Yeah.
So you were kind of slowly taking the reins, and then when they got to be whatever, half taken or something, you were like, I'm out of here.
Yeah.
A little bit. And you were like, well, good. Don't let the door hit you on your way out.
Yeah. I mean, it was very much like that. Nathan, actually, Hunter and I talked about this. He's a starter.
Yeah.
He's the type of person that loves to invent things and build things.
He was getting bored.
And when he is over something, it is such a drag to be around.
I said, no shit. I said, not 2 weeks before I made the decision to leave, I verbatim said, wow, this is the greatest project that I've ever created. And it was a project that we had worked on, and it really was. It was one of my favorite projects. I thought, we were at the top of the world. And it was just, I'm not, beyond that, like the creation aspect of it, everything else had gotten just too, I feel like, monotonous.
Yeah.
Like it was too much of a drag, know, and I needed to go back because I'm really the type who likes the novelty of things. And, I worked with blockchain several years ago, getting into that, got out of that, got, really deep into building just digital products for people, so I think that's always been fun. But then I kind of lost a little interest in that because, I wasn't building anything long-term for myself. So I kept building these projects for everybody else, and they were very technical and everything. And at the end of the day, I felt like I was just running an agency.
Yeah.
So, and at the end of the day, I really kind of gear towards more like the engineer mindset.
Yeah.
So
That's interesting.
Yeah,
I want to
I
learn
believe-
about like how you learned all about this back end stuff because like you guys were fresh in business kind of when we met, and so I think the best thing to do now is jump in the time capsule
Sure.
and or the time machine and head back to you guys seem like you're like grade school sweethearts or something maybe, but like are you from the same place, same region of the country?
Yeah.
District 14 in Georgia.
Okay.
Marjorie Taylor Greene's
Oh, is that
land.
right?
Oh, yeah. She's
MTG.
always trending.
Yeah. For as small as that area is.
Where is that in Georgia?
Northwest Georgia, near like Chattanooga, Tennessee.
Okay, yep.
Yeah. Like
Yeah.
the tri-state area. So you're right next to Alabama, Tennessee, and Georgia.
Right in that corner kind of. Okay, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. I grew up. She claims Georgia. I claim Chattanooga more because I grew up mostly on the Tennessee side.
Oh, is that right?
Until really, I guess, high school.
Yep. Yep.
So
And-
let's take those a little bit separately, or did you guys meet in high school? Is that
Yeah,
eventually?
actually,
so
yeah.
where you were in the MTG District 14 country or whatever.
Yep.
What you have brothers, sisters? What were your parents up to? What was the community and the
Yeah.
culture like a little bit?
Yeah, so I grew up in a really small town. In fact, in my grade, I had about 80 students. And sixth grade, my dad was my sixth grade math teacher.
Fun.
When I was in high school, he was my principal. I felt
Stable
like,
community sounds like.
I mean, yeah, I definitely grew up with a very solid family. I love them. We're very close. I have two brothers. I'm the middle child, so I'm most likely to go to jail.
Statistically, yeah.
Is that right? I didn't know that. I assume
Yep.
the youngest probably would be, but
Nope, middle child.
Okay.
Middle child's the problem one. And honestly, I was always in trouble. I met Nathan in, was it ninth grade? I think it was ninth grade. We dated for a couple years, or several years. And he lived about 20 minutes away.
okay.
Yeah.
Just across, or just back now across on the
Yeah.
Georgia side. But and Nathan, let's switch it to you just a little bit. You were on the Chattanooga side or whatever of Tennessee. What was your family dynamic? You have
Yeah.
siblings? Do you have?
Yeah, so I'm the oldest of 4 boys.
Oh,
Yeah, my dad and mom are definitely glutton for punishment.
my wife's brother has 4 boys, and
Yeah.
yeah, it's a special thing.
Yeah, it is. So grew up in Chattanooga suburbs. I guess mostly Hickson area. Went to middle school. Didn't do a whole lot in middle school. Played football, I guess. Started playing music in middle
Scat
school.
back or something like that.
Yeah, wasn't. I'm not real big now, so I wasn't real big then. But yeah, wide receiver, corner at the time.
Yeah.
But yeah, so
Good student.
No, terrible student. I still stick with now. I don't think these big gray boxes are a very good fit for like hyper ADHD boys, and that was definitely me
Yeah.
and all of my brothers were just very high strung.
Yeah.
I'm a lot more calm now, but yeah, so we actually moved to North Georgia, just across the line, maybe half a mile across the line. So I was in Georgia by the time I went to high school. I got really into music. I was practicing probably 6-8 hours a day.
Whoa.
Yeah, it was insane. I played in several bands.
Guitar.
Yeah, guitar. I played guitar, piano, and drums now.
Wow.
But it was mostly guitar then. But we toured around. We gone for a couple weeks at a time.
Wow.
and
A high school.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it was really. It was.
So you took your studies very seriously.
I did not. I did not take them seriously.
What did your dad work and mom stay home watching those 4 boys?
No. So they both worked.
Okay.
So my dad, he initially started out. He's so smart. My dad is just like everything mechanical is right up his alley. So he started at a sign shop, and he started doing sign design. And this is right when, I guess, the graphical user interface was really spinning up. This was early 90s. And, he showed me around these tools, Sign Lab and stuff like that. And that played a big role into my kind of tech journey
sounds
later
like
on.
it.
But he ended up being a plant manager in a sign company for, several years, and kind of managed that. And my mom's an accountant. So, they were both working, and just
everyday kind of Joe Paycheck kind of lifestyle.
Yeah, definitely some struggle, I guess, going into high school. So my parents did divorce, going from middle school to high school. So that's sort of tough.
One of my friends says that people like heading toward divorce don't often realize enough that like both families' standards of living are going to take a major cut no matter how you slice it.
Oh yeah, it was super tough. Now, I mean, they're actually great friends. My mom and dad.
That's
both.
cool.
They're both remarried, and they're good friends. And every time we go back home, we're hanging out with all of them.
That's awesome.
And
Cool.
they've got a great relationship. So
yeah.
yeah.
Tell me more about young Alex. Were you a good student? Were you an athlete? Were you a writer already?
I was an average student. I really had to work hard to make good grades. Just book smarts. It doesn't really come natural to me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a lot more just scrappy and street smart and just like figure shit out on my own type of person. So I guess I'm kind of like Nathan. Like being stuck in a classroom was hard for me.
Yeah.
Reading was hard for me.
But you were committed to achieving in some ways in a different way than he did. Well, he was committed to achieving, but in music or whatever things.
Well, and coming from like a
little closer.
Oh, sorry. So my dad being an educator, he definitely instilled that value of, getting a good education is important. It's good to live with structure and follow the rules and respect your elders and all of that. So I do think if we're comparing, my life has been easier because I was just like ingrained those types of values.
That's funny, yeah. Well, because otherwise you've got all of us have these rough edges, but if you're bouncing hard against the edges,
And Nathan's very much the opposite, which I think is why we work so great as a team.
Yeah.
Because if I didn't have someone to teach me to, have some rough edges sometimes, I would be walked all over constantly. And so, I was a cheerleader. I played soccer. Very busy kid. Very attention-seeking, ditzy, loud.
Is that what got your Nathan's attention?
Maybe.
100%. No, actually, I think the first time we met, I don't think she said one word. She was with one of her friends, and I roll up, and I think at the time, I had one of my motorcycles.
Yeah.
So, Alex, the first time I ever met her, she almost knocks over my motorcycle. So I thought she was
ditzy,
little ditzy. I was like, I don't know about that girl. She's gonna mess my stuff up.
Yeah.
But no, then we started talking, and rest is history.
Yeah. I've always been down for like a good time. Like I'm very social, and I don't know.
I don't even think she asked. She just like threw her leg over it.
Yeah.
She's just like,
like you didn't bump into it. You're like,
no,
I'm going to sit on your motorcycle.
On it, and then it was very heavy.
Yeah, she didn't realize it's like a 700-pound motorcycle. Please.
That's awesome. So I remember, Nathan, from when we first met and we were office neighbors, that like some of your early work was in a motorcycle shop because I was raised in a motorcycle family too. Were you a motorcycle kid first and then the motorcycle shop came along?
Just barely. So I guess going into high school, so my parents split up. I stayed with my mom, I guess, for the first couple years, and then I wanted to change from. At the time, she was living in kind of like Middle Tennessee, so there's not a whole lot to do up there. So my dad had just moved down to just shy of the Chattanooga, Georgia. He was on the
Georgia side of the Chattanooga line.
I was like, okay, well, I want to go live with Dad for a while, and he had an opportunity to buy a piece of property there. There was, he was able to buy a house and a little tiny building. The thing couldn't have been 800 square feet. It was so tiny.
Right.
And I remember the price on it was like $16,000. And I'm not shitting you. This is in District 14, so Alex knows where it's at. It is one of the most impoverished areas in Georgia, and we were on one of the most impoverished roads in that district.
It's as cheap as you're ever going to get
Right.
it.
Yeah, but
it was the house he could afford at the time, or whatever. And,
but looking back, it provides such an opportunity because he could have easily afforded, a little bit more and just rented. But I think that ownership mindset, he was like, well, no, it's not much, but it's mine.
Yeah.
And this is my motorcycle shop, and it was in nowhere.
Yeah.
And we had people actually come and. Yeah, my first.
So he was fixing motorcycles with your help in the little shed.
So my first foray into it. So my first job was, I think I was 14, and I worked with my mom up in Ocoee, Tennessee, was where I was, where she lived at, and it was at a restaurant. But then once I moved with Dad, it was just kind of being a helper mechanic, and I was also doing marketing and stuff at the time, and. Yeah, I mean, I learned a lot about business. I can tear apart a Harley engine from top to bottom and put it back together. I learned how to develop websites then. I went to, I guess at that same time,
So you built a website basically for your dad's repair business or whatever.
Yeah,
I didn't realize it was your dad's business previously.
Yeah, so, and it really... I guess the way it started with my coding venture was honestly there was this social media site called Xanga, and it was before MySpace, and basically you could code themes with that, and that was my first foray. And then I remember we had gotten a quote from a local agency in Chattanooga, and it was like $10,000 for a website at the time.
Right, because they were the cutting edge thing.
I was like, and this
nobody
was,
knew how to do it.
Maybe 2003,
right,
2004. So beginning of my high school career, and I was like, the hell with that. I know HTML. I can build it. And I did. And it was...
And people were like, that's a pretty nice website, kid.
Yeah. And then at the same time, I guess halfway through school, so I was a mechanic at my dad's shop. And then I had Wilbanks Design, which was my freelance design and development practice.
Oh, very
at the
cool.
time. Yeah,
very cool.
It was great.
So we'll come in the family section and really tell the love story. But you guys, you started dating in junior high, and have you been together since, or was there a season of not, or?
About 2 months of not.
Oh,
that's
not
it.
too much.
Yeah, that's not too bad after 15 years.
Yeah, that was our are we making the right decision? Pondering on our relationship, and then we realized, yeah, we work really well together.
Yeah. Well, you're never going to find a perfect person because there are no such things, and
exactly.
So if you jive with somebody, you might as well just grab them.
Yeah.
So, what was that evolution then? Did you were dating through high school? Did either one of you go to college?
Yep, we both went to college, but we had our daughter at a really young age.
Yeah.
So we had dated for 2 years. I remember going to my senior prom, and it was about a week after I found out I was pregnant.
Oh, oops.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And that's actually.
Is this like Bible Belt still too? And so that was scandalous, even though it was 2004 or whatever.
I was so scared. I told my mom as soon as I found out.
Yeah.
I was so scared to tell my dad, and I'll never forget. He was just like, "It's okay. We're gonna make it work.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay." He was just so supportive.
You're like, I thought you were supposed to be mad at me.
Yeah, I'm embarrassed. I felt like such an embarrassment to him because of who he was. And
because he's a school principal, right?
Yeah, and so I was like, I felt so guilty. Like that's what I kept thinking about.
Yeah.
And he was so supportive. He walked hand in hand with me down the halls. Just still he never showed that he wasn't proud.
Yeah.
And so I just
kudos, Dad.
Yeah. And both of my parents, and I mean, our families are very supportive, but that was hard because we were 18 and thought, okay, well, we're adults,
Right.
Looking back on it now, we were children. We were babies.
Yeah.
We didn't know what we were doing. And, it was hard, but we made it work. And we did.
And you went to college anyway.
We did. We did. We went online, hybrid.
Yeah.
which was the new thing then.
Right.
Yeah.
And were you just motorcycle mechanicking or were you went off to college? Where'd you go? I guess is the question there. Both at the same place, I assume, since you're married, or maybe you weren't married yet, I suppose.
Yeah, we didn't get married for 8 years, so that's a story later. But
we were very untraditional.
Yeah,
we're life partners, and then eventually we're like, man, let's actually get married for real.
Yeah, but so we both went to Georgia Northwestern Technical College, which was a technical college near where we lived. Whenever I had Ellie, I was 18, and Nathan bought a $40,000 house.
Oh.
Right across the street from the motorcycle shop. Mm-hmm. And it had been abandoned for years, but it was a very great opportunity because we were paying the owner, so it was like a personal loan.
Oh, right. Yeah, owner finance kind of.
0 interest.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
0.
Yeah, you just had 20 years to pay him or whatever, and that's all good.
Yep, it was a $333.33 payment every month. And we raised Ellie there. I remember when we moved in, all we had was a couch and a pack and play. Yeah. And, we grew our lives, and it was great.
Yeah.
And did you go through school too? And what was your degrees?
So I didn't.
Didn't quite.
So when I was more focused on the motorcycle shop. So I had actually not even, I failed a couple classes in
I did too. In high school.
In high school, failed a couple classes. I was told that if I came back another semester, I could graduate halfway through the year. So I came back, did some classes. Well, then I kind of got the runaround, and they were like, well, you're going to have to stay another semester. And I was like, okay, I'm out of that. So I literally left.
So you weren't legal to actually be in the college.
So I left.
Sorry, I'm jumping ahead.
I left immediately, got my GED, and within a week, applied to the college. And I did that for a couple years, and I was in the business management program, and I'm going to be honest. I feel like I was learning too much at the motorcycle shop in the real world, and these businesses on, the different, macroeconomic theories of things just weren't applicable, to what I was dealing with in the day to day. I didn't have the funding or the sources to deal with those sort of things at the time. So I really, focused on the task at hand, which was running the motorcycle shop.
Yeah. And getting jobs done efficiently and all that. I was just, when Alma started here, she was taking classes at Front Range Community College. Mm-hmm. And then they went back to remote classes only, and she wasn't that interested anyway and whatever. Yeah. And she's like, I'm learning so much more here at Loco Think Tank, and I can take online classes, and I can watch YouTube videos and do things that are current and cutting edge, not 5 years old already.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It really comes down to, like, what do you want to do in your career? Yeah. If you want to do business, you don't have to go to school. You really don't. It's helpful if you're young and you have the time.
If you want to have an engineering company, you probably might have to, but yeah.
It really just depends on what you want to do. And
so what were you doing?
Yeah, so I majored, I don't remember the program because it was a technical school. I planned on going to a 4-year college. And so I did just like a normal program.
Kind of generalist for a little bit.
Yeah, just to get some credits. So then I could transfer, and I transferred to Western Governors University, where I majored in early childhood education.
Oh, okay.
I got through that almost. I was like maybe, 30 credits short or something. Decided I didn't want to do that anymore. Switched to business management and went to school another couple years.
Oh, wow.
I have no degree. I'll just go ahead and say.
But you have plenty of credits
a lot of
to have 1 or 2 degrees at least.
And then a lot of student debt. But, I went to pretty cheap schools, so I can't complain.
Yeah.
But,
yeah, imagine if it was $100,000 or $200,000 of debt in today's world,
it's like
right?
$20,000,
right.
So it's not bad.
Yeah.
So you're running the motorcycle shop. Was your dad involved this whole time too?
Yeah. So he was splitting his time. He was still the plant manager at that
right.
shop.
So you were kind of running the motorcycle shop most of the time, and he was had a hobby business kind of.
So at 18, he moved to the Tennessee side of things, he got tired of paying the Georgia 10% tax, so he
Okay.
flipped over the line to avoid that. And at that point, he was staying mostly up there, and I found myself running the motorcycle shop from the front end to the back end.
Yeah.
Hello, this is Nathan. To
Right.
answering, to running the parts.
What was the name of the shop?
It was the Hog's Pen.
The Hog's Pen.
Yeah,
Oh,
so,
nice.
Hog's Pen is Nathan. It taught me a lot.
It brings back so many memories hearing that.
It does. It was so funny because I was 18, 19 years old running this motorcycle shop, and the people bringing their bikes were 50, 60-year-old men
right.
who have $50,000 motorcycles. Like, it was, I had to learn so much, and I couldn't take any shit, and I couldn't, at any point, let my guard down, because like those are their babies.
Right.
I don't know if you know Harley owners, but they take it real.
Don't let Alex tip any of those motorcycles over when she's over.
I never touched another one.
No,
I will
she
say.
didn't. But they're real particular in their motorcycles.
I'm sure.
So I learned a lot.
So, I guess it must not have been too much after that when you guys packed up the truck and moved to Colorado, huh? And by the way, your wife's wine is ready for a refill if you want
Yes,
to grab that
please.
little bottle.
Yeah, we moved to Colorado in 2014.
So that's a little bit later.
Yeah, it was, Ellie was 4 years old, my daughter. So, so yeah, it was just a lot of, in fact, before we moved, a year before, we were both working 2 jobs to save up to move. It was a really big deal that our families had a really hard time supporting.
Mm-hmm.
Taking their granddaughter across the country.
Yeah.
for
And what
sure.
was the driver of that? Like, just wanted to be in a different place? Or was there a job opportunity out here or something?
We initially, we had the idea. We moved out here. Well, one, we kind of wanted to mix it up, get out of Georgia. We'd been there, Tennessee, Georgia for a long time, so do something different. But we had some friends that were coming out to Colorado, and there was a business venture that me and some guys wanted to get into with a sensory deprivation flotation therapy business.
I had one stretch in my SBDC consulting days where in the span of 2 months, I met with 4 different would-be float tank
Thanks, Joe
operators
Rogan.
here in Fort Collins. Yeah, must have been something like that.
Yeah, the early.
And none of them launched. And then somebody, I think, does have a float thing in Fort Collins now, but
Yep.
it was like over a year, maybe 2 years later. So,
Yeah.
They're so capital intensive.
it
Was like $500,000. just
well,
to
and you
get
better
them
have
launched.
a couple $100,000 in marketing to get it
Yep.
spun up afterwards, because
and-
otherwise those payments are going to
and-
eat you up before
and-
you
Yeah.
can fill them.
And then what happens is, I think about 95% of the cost was just maintenance of those tanks.
Oh,
and everything done
really?
manually. So that's where really the biggest foray into
That
like,
wasn't really included in the projections of most of the ones I looked at.
Yeah, it's a lot to look at, because there's, to do it right and keep those tanks clean, like there's so much cleaning stuff involved,
Yeah.
so much dosing, and that was one of the things that got me into the tech space. Is we actually developed a automated float tank system, and that was kind of my foray. It was totally touchpad controlled from the front desk, and the entire like system cleaned itself, dosed
Right.
itself. It literally detected the pH level and all that stuff.
And now they're on the market. You can buy those now.
you can
Right.
buy those now. You couldn't buy those.
It wasn't.
then.
You tried to
But-
create it for yourself because you
Yeah.
realized what the intensive maintenance was going to cost
Yeah,
you in
well-
terms of labor hours and shutdown time.
And that was the only way that we were going to get it set up. Is we figured up the cost, and we were like, there's no way we're going to be able to buy these tanks and do all the renovations that it takes to keep a place as quiet as you need.
Yeah.
Because one footstep or loud noise that you hear in
Yeah.
the float tank, and it just jars you awake, and it's a terrible experience.
So you guys are working 2 jobs. Mom's watching the baby a lot, and so are other people here and there because it's Georgia and stuff.
Yeah.
And you're saving up money because you're going to move to Colorado with this float tank venture.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And your families and everybody else are like, what now?
They're like, you guys are smoking crack.
And were you? No, just kidding.
No, we weren't.
No, you're just dreamers.
We're
And-
dreamers. We really are.
Yeah.
We've always been like that.
So did that come together? Did it ever have revenues? I assume you had saved some capital but needed a bank to be friendly and stuff like that too.
Yeah, so we had one of our partners was our cash investor, and it lasted for a while, but we didn't try to get any other funding backing. I think there were some like key things at a point where we did have the opportunity to. So
yeah.
and honestly, I think partner trust and stuff like that comes in a lot, and that's one of those things. We were young, and when somebody says, okay, we'll sign here for $500,000, it's like, okay, are we sure we want to go down this venture? And there was just so many cracks that we kind of saw, and with the model. And looking back, I've done the research on those poor float tank centers since then. They're not high revenue generating machines.
Really?
Yeah. You got to keep them booked up just constantly.
You're buying yourself a job.
Right, and that's no fun, really.
Yeah. Most of the people who own them are self-owning. It's not
right. There isn't enough overhead to have staff hardly and helping you out and stuff. Yeah, that's not a super attractive venture necessarily. It's like owning a laundromat or something, right?
So we got ourselves real into debt with that, just broke running ourselves so thin because, we were just putting all our time and effort there. So that's actually when BizOp got started Okay.
And you rented the cheapest office you could find, which was right across the hall from the cheapest office I could find with my thrivent and local think tank business.
And Elon. Elon was great.
He was, really great landlord and a good building. If you like small windowless offices, it's got a lot of them.
That was the only thing. Like my office now has windows, and it's better because of that.
We had to put so many fake plants in there to just give it.
Right. I had actually that plant right there. I had in my prior office before I downsized into that thing, and it was a little money tree, right?
Oh yeah.
And it stayed the same size for like 3 years, and then I moved into my College Avenue one right by the Chiba Hut HQ there, and it like went from 18 inches to 6 feet tall in like 2 years or a year. Anyway,
what they do with nourishment,
right? A little, but and when I was at the America Building, I had to have like a plant light just shining at it to keep it barely alive.
Yeah, it's barely surviving.
Right, but I kept it alive for like a year and a half there.
Hey, that's impressive.
Yeah. So that's BizOp Media. So because of what you had learned marketing the motorcycle thing and various things, and I'm assuming you were the marketing lead on, were you also invested in working on the float project, or were you working elsewhere? Or
so I saw I don't know, looking back on this now, I wonder if I was sticking my nose where it didn't belong, kind of situation. But I saw a lot of issues with the three partners not communicating well. And
none of us were good managers. And Alex, statistically, is a better manager.
And so I came in and I had to-do lists, and I had like objectives, and I had deadlines. And, I was like, hey, I'm helping, but I'm also going to get shares in this company if I'm helping. And I... I just came in and one of the partners
because I know you guys can't pay me, so
yeah.
That's kind of how it was.
And one of the partners was really not happy about it, and it quickly dissolved after that. And so then I was like, okay, so what's next? I guess I have this personality that's just like, I love to be led. If somebody's taking the charge and they're like, hey, this is now the goal, then
you're like,
I'm jumping in.
And,
and so that was how it was with BizOp. I didn't know how, I wasn't a graphic designer and I wasn't a writer, but I knew how to, I guess I'm a creative person. So I watched a lot of YouTube, and I taught myself Photoshop and Illustrator, and
picked it up fast. So I don't know if there's that meme, if those people have seen, it's Rick Rubin going around and he's like, I have no technical ability. I can't play any instruments. I can't do anything. I'm not a technical guy. I just know what I like. And this motherfucker gets paid like millions of dollars to touch his hand on these records.
Right.
Yeah, he's
a great podcast guest. I've heard him on Lex Friedman, I
he's
think.
Great.
And
he's got so many good thoughts, but and that's kind of how Alex was. She's like, I don't know.
I'm like a sponge.
She was not technical. So I've spent like every week, so that 6 to 8 hours guitar playing every day through middle school.
Right.
That continued, but it continued in like code and design and things like that, and still music even till today. It's just my days are getting shorter and shorter because there's not enough time in them. But with every hobby I add to it. But, Alex was a sponge. I remember she actually hooked us up, and real kickoff of BizOp was because Alex designed one newsletter for a PR agency in New York, and it took off. And
Well, they started throwing their clients at us.
Nice.
And it was a great partnership for years. We probably relied on it more than we should have.
Yeah.
But, it gave us the confidence that we needed to continue.
Yeah. Well, so you have like a lot of design experience and stuff, but Alex is like, well, I know what I like and I know what people like. And this newsletter is a good one for people that think like this or
I'm
whatever.
a little bit of a copycat too. Like, I'll find things I like and then I'm like I found a YouTube video recently that I was like, wow, I'm sold. I'm going to go buy this software. And then I was like, Nathan, take this YouTube video and plan point by point everything, but tie it to Jack and Jill.
Yeah.
And you'll be great.
Yeah.
she's a perfect repurposer.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah. Well, there aren't that many new ideas in the world.
Yeah.
Like, even like, local think tank, people are like, how did you come up with that? I'm like, well, I took a little bit of Vistage and I added some Rotary Club and some Matthews House and some Bible Study Fellowship and bada bing, bada boom.
Yeah.
And I didn't do that intentionally, but it just, that's how things go.
Yeah, you learn that way.
Yeah.
And you're like, I like this. This works.
Yeah, this works. This looks good. I'm actually going to call a really brief break because I need a drink refill and a potty break, and so we'll come back.
This episode is sponsored by Loco Think Tank. Loco Think Tank provides peer collaboration for business owners. We build smart, safe places to help business leaders navigate every stage of the business journey, and we love what we do and who we do it with. Our model features give-back-minded business veterans in the role of Loco facilitators, and we're always looking for abundance-minded individuals to add to our membership, facilitator team, Loco community, or to feature on this podcast. Listeners of this podcast who go on to become members of Loco Think Tank get their 6th month of membership for free. Just mention the Loco Experience podcast on your application. To learn more, visit our website at locothinktank.com. That's LOCO thinktank.com.
Okay, so when we left off, we were BizOp was really coming into itself. You got this nice PR agency in New York that's funneling you new clients to do their newsletters and maybe some design and stuff. Building websites too, were you guys doing that?
Yep.
Yeah.
So kind of the traditional digital marketing, but not the social, not the PPC.
We
tried to.
We at
Actually,
the time did that
We
too.
did all of it.
So we were the typical we'll do it all.
Right.
But we did have one advantage that we niched very early. So like with that PR agency, Alex and I pivoted fast. So that was the first step in the door, but we took advantage hard. Like we worked with so many other people, even not from that PR agency. We just leaned into being the marketing agency for the architecture and construction industry. And immediately.
And is that who that PR agency focused on? Was
Yep.
that niche too?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then we got connected with, other PR agencies were hitting us up and things like that. And
That's cool.
People were referring and people were finding us. The biggest thing was SEO. And that still happens to this day. So, we've had a $60,000 website contract, hit our desk this morning from just an organic website lead.
Yeah, they're like, I hear you guys are good at architecture industry websites.
Well, we rank number 1 for a bunch of keywords related to it. So, yeah.
So that is kind of will remain kind of as part of your core, I guess, and other things with BizOp. Is that so?
Yeah. Yep. BizOp, I think we've definitely, so at one point we used to do everything for anyone in the building industry.
Yeah.
And so I realized that was a problem whenever I had a client one time ask me to write an SOP for them. And so then I was like, okay.
What's an SOP? Just kidding.
Yeah.
That's what I would have done.
Yeah. And so like I don't even know your company really. Like I'm writing marketing for, like, I don't know your operations. How could I write this for you without any direction?
We found ourselves developing like automations and stuff for people's like sales processes and stuff. And like, although it was interesting and raw talent can find a way to get stuff done at a high quality.
Yeah.
It stretched us so thin and
Right.
we couldn't.
Well, and everything is custom.
Yeah, and we
Yeah.
we weren't building case studies around any specific thing, so everybody was always like, well, we're looking for a website for a landscape architect. You guys don't have that, and it's like, well, shit, we did XYZ for a landscape architect, but not this, so we needed a trim.
Yeah, and so so 2020 came, and inflation started rising, and 2021 came around, and it was just I don't know. It was probably inopportune to some degree, but I knew something had to change with Nathan not being there anymore. I had to really hyper focus on what we were offering and make sure that it was good. And so now I'm turning away work where I've never done that before.
Yeah.
Because it's not in our expertise. It's not in our vision. And so I think we're going in a great direction there. And I know that what I do offer is going to be one of the best options you have.
Yeah.
You know, so.
Well, and so you're kind of the chief creative there, and then you have some subcontractors you rely on for certain specific elements. Like, do you do video or things like that, for example?
I mean,
you can.
No, I would say no.
Yeah.
To video, I would refer someone.
Right.
I have gotten better at that too. Like I'm kind of the person that connects people. I've noticed that about my personality, and so I love to have contacts in my Rolodex.
Yeah.
But I don't want to take that on and manage it myself. As far as having employees, we are a global company. I have a client in Barcelona, for an example. So it doesn't make sense to have in-office employees as much as just good people working for me or working in BizOp. And so we have found that contractors, I mean, they make the most sense. Not only are they eager to work and eager to prove themselves because they're contractors and I could cut them in a second.
Yeah.
They also have the ability to leave in a second if they're not getting their needs met.
That hold loosely kind of thing.
Yeah. And so, I mean, all of my contractors have been with me for years.
Yeah.
And it's a very
well, and they're pros. Like, if you're
Yeah.
hiring people, then maybe you hire somebody with skills already. Maybe you have to spend a bunch of time training them. Maybe they can't really learn the things you're trying to train them.
But with marketing, I mean, at least in what we have offered, I wouldn't say this is probably like so black and white.
Yeah.
But at least for what we offer, it makes sense. And I look for contractors to teach me things.
Right.
And not vice versa.
Yeah. I'd say we have, like, I mean, especially now, BizOp has a very clear cut, and the websites have been great for a long time. I feel like it's.
And are you allowed back at BizOp now? You guys have mended fences.
No, we've mended fences. I'm back in. Whenever she needs, like, I mean, sometimes I'll pop in. Like, I mean, I'm a developer, so any website project, I've definitely got my hands in. Whether I'm on the client calls or not. Well, no, you're right.
She's like, I got a couple contractors now that don't need you anymore.
I have a website contract open right now, and Nathan has not even looked at it.
You're
so
right. Well,
that's a win for you and a win for you.
Yeah.
Because you're tired of working on websites.
Yeah.
We'll see once it's launched and there's a bug randomly.
Yeah. Now, are you leaning into, like, I know you talked about your niche kind of on BizOp, but are you leaning into the Jack and Jill and the content writing element as well?
Yep. So absolutely. I've been very honest with my clients that I use AI to help generate content. And there has been some skepticism, but I'm a firm believer of being transparent and honest with processes.
Yeah.
And
I think there should almost be a, AI hybrid, full AI, fully person. Like, there should almost be a stamp on everything nowadays.
There is not a single article that we send to the client that hasn't been heavily edited by a human.
Right.
We use AI to help us generate that first draft, and we're able, with Jack and Jill, to really customize how we want that content to go.
Yeah.
And so that first draft is really good, but then it takes a human to come in with some SEO knowledge and some just human experience to, like, bring that last oomph to the article.
Well, and when I start writing something, I don't really know where it's going.
Yeah.
But as a marketer, you actually kind of know where you want to go, and so you can just point the tool there a little bit and really sketch that out instead of letting your wandering mind take you away from the trail.
I'm more of a wanderer. I'm like, I'm just going to punch in a topic and see what it does.
I mean, if you're writing for SEO, you have a target keyword that you need to have at least 5% of the time, 5 to 10% in your article. Yeah. There is a very hard rule strategy there.
I think I remember.
I think it's 1 to 2%.
Is it?
I don't know.
Plus 5 to 10%.
That-
No, 1 to 2%. You're right. Sorry.
I was
Yeah.
just saying,
Math.
before somebody goes putting in 50.
I remember, I think I got an email from you, Alex, one time on some blog I wrote, and you were like, I love your writing. It's completely useless for SEO for what your
Yeah.
business does.
Yeah.
And it's true. I mean, it is the.
We deal with clients with that all the time.
I read
though.
your newsletter every month, and
Well,
I read
thank you.
your blogs. I mean, Nathan knows because I always forward it to him, and that's how I knew that Jack and Jill was mentioned
Oh, good.
instantly because I always open your newsletter. It is really great for that human experience.
Yeah.
But if somebody is searching you
Right.
in search, they might not find you.
It's different. It's different channels. So your voice is probably perfect for email or even social or something like that. But search is just such a different game.
Right.
It's answering questions.
Yeah. So I want to dip our toes a little bit more into AI and how you see Jack and Jill unfolding potentially, and how you'd
Yeah.
like to see it unfold.
Yeah.
And then we'll go into some of the closing segments from there. But yeah, tell me. I guess I don't know what you think people want to know, like what questions they have.
I'll tell you what I see a lot. I see a lot of fear.
Yeah.
So a lot of people that I think it comes out in different ways. So like there's some people who, even educated people in the space who are like deathly afraid, who think this might be the last 100 years that humanity's around because we're accelerating at that sort of speed. I think there's also a lot of people who are very skeptical. So like, and that can range from anywhere from skeptical that we're going to end ourselves, like the
Yeah.
iRobot sort of thing, which could be a possibility. This stuff is growing
This is
very
getting very
Super
existential.
powerful.
well. This,
Well, if
this
you read
might-
my blog, you're like, well, an echo chamber with devious inputs is
Yeah.
dangerous.
okay, so and the reason this will probably play into our discussion about faith here in a little bit, but you need to be at least aware somewhat of it, because if you're not aware, you're going to be very shocked one way or the other. And I think it's not so much that. So there's a kind of meme going around. I think people are concerned about losing their jobs. So there's a meme, AI is not going to take your job. A person using AI is going to take your job.
Right. Yeah.
I think that's one thing that people are concerned about. And I think that's not necessarily true. I think it could elevate everybody. If we're all creating mega content at light speed, well then nobody's creating mega content at light speed. So
Right.
eventually there's going to be
Well,
that
the world can hardly
homeostasis.
take any more content.
Yeah. It's
In
already
some ways.
empty.
And we're going to have AIs to dilute the content and distill it down to that. But where I see AI going and where I think it's going to be very important, and I want to see Jack move there. So right now it's writing content, but we just released a Zapier integration that allows you to connect it with over 5,000 apps.
What?
Yes. So imagine hooking up your AI assistant to anything online. So imagine creating a digital version of yourself, thousands of digital versions of yourself that can do anything you want online.
I cannot do that.
Yeah.
It's too complicated. I'm an
It's
imaginative
actually-
guy.
It's
but
not as hard as you think. So Nathan has it set up where it'll read his email and auto respond a draft, and he can train it on
to know which one it should respond to and which ones it
Yes.
should just delete.
So-
or
Yeah.
or like how he wants to respond. Like he can tell the AI like, hey, if someone reaches out to me about a guest post,
Yeah.
these are our offerings. These are our rules, and it automatically drafts that up
Yeah.
for him.
So I get, because we run some sites that are doing well. So we get tons of people emailing about guest posts. Hey, I'd love to post on your, site. And a lot of times they're willing to pay for it,
Right.
$100 a pop or more. And I'm missing on those opportunities all the time because I'm not stuck in my email all the time.
Right.
And I don't respond to all those. So I set up literally my AI to respond to those things, and it does automatically.
It sends it and everything, or does it set it up and
So,
then you hit send?
right now. So this is where the human, it's like still having your, it's like still having your hand on the plug. Okay.
Right.
So that right now I just have it where it summarizes all of those, and it emails me a summary of every single one with a link to the original email and a reply for every single one. Where now
Yeah.
all I have to do, that was a 5-minute per email process before.
Yeah.
I can do 100 of those in 5 minutes now. So we're talking exponential differences. So I think that's the thing, that the exponential nature of AI is the scary part.
Do you have any notions on, like, I've heard some, like, potential fail-safes being built in or whatever where, like, it can't update itself. Is there any way to really stop the growing intelligence of this system?
I believe so. This is getting like a philosophical thought about it, but I don't think technology can be put back in a box once it's been out, unless something really catastrophic happens. Like I do think
nuclear Armageddon.
I do think there's past civilizations that definitely knew intelligence that got lost that now we don't have.
Sure.
But it's got to be
like how to build a pyramid.
Yeah. Well,
Egyptians.
Yeah. Well, the whole library of Alexandria
right.
just got lost. But I do think, bar that, I don't see a way to stop it, because already so Facebook just released a model that's even more powerful than what supposedly more powerful than OpenAI had launched, and it got, within a matter of days, torrented out on the internet, and people just downloaded the hell out of it.
What do you mean torrented out?
The code.
Peer to peer, old
got stolen.
Napster style. It got put out there, and people just downloaded all the weights. It was like 40 gigs worth of the way.
So like Facebook spends $40 billion building this thing, and then everybody just steals it.
Yeah.
Good, I guess. I don't know.
But
it shows the futility of trying to keep it in a cage.
It really does.
They're like digital critters. They can just
teachers out there
sneak
listening,
away.
the business owners out there listening. Like I highly advise you don't do a whole ban. Don't look at GPT. Don't look at AI. Don't use it. Like I think
teach your kids how to use it.
Yeah.
At least pause and think about how it could be.
Will we be able to tell if kids are actually learning, or if people are passing bar exams, or
so I think
things
it's already. So I'm using mine. This isn't something that I have released to the public yet, but I'm using my own tool to literally help me understand my limitations. So you can build a knowledge graph and feed it in information. It could be pulling all the information from your phone. So like whether you trust your phone with all the information.
Yeah.
Maybe you get a non-Google phone, get one of those off-the-grid phones. But you could do it, your own self-contained unit. And you teach that AI everything that it needs to know. And it can, essentially work on your behalf. So that's already what, we've got going on now. And learning, imagine diving into something Magic School Bus style. And instead of having to read through books or texts or something like that, you strap on a VR headset and it's combined with AI that knows what you know and knows what you don't know and feeds you that information to pull you along. Like you could 100-fold your intelligence, I believe.
Well, and for kids.
Well, it doesn't leave a lot of room for slackers. Like I've been kind of a slacker.
But
Coasted and done pretty well for myself.
So let me clarify that a little bit. I think it depends on the person.
Yeah.
Because just like, so there's some people who own an iPhone that use it, in third world countries, that might be all they have, and they run a whole multi-million-dollar business off of one iPhone, and we see it all the time. It's amazing what they can do. But then you got someone else who's just using it to play Angry Birds. So I really think it depends. What you're, are you using the calculator to do a better job, or are you using it to be lazier?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I used the metaphor today that AI is like being a film director, and if you teach kids that when they're using AI, they're really being a director of whatever story they want to tell, then they're going to create amazing things in school. Mm-hmm. And you're going to have those kids that are slackers and they're like, I'll just auto-generate something.
Write
you can tell.
Or they just choose not to use AI.
Yeah.
What about them ones? Is there even going to be such a thing as really writing anymore? Or is just old school?
I think there will be. Cause just
but
like
is that going to be the starving artist?
I wonder.
Because that's the thought I have. Like, I think that if you're spending 6 hours writing a blog instead of 20 minutes, like, are you really wasting time?
Kind of, I guess.
Yeah.
But what else do I do? Do I have 5 hours and 40 minutes of Twitter time then?
I mean, real easy. So already Jack can do this. You can talk. You can give your thoughts. You can talk into an AI, and then it can tell a story.
Oh, my gosh.
So it's all about... Like children, I think students are going to be trained on how to articulate their imagination, and AI is going to create these incredible storylines. And if you get lazy, it's going to be boring. But if you aren't lazy, it's going to be impactful and it's going to bring chills to you. Like it's going to be amazing.
Tell me about Jack and Jill, because you've talked about Jack, but I know there's a Jill, and it's a subscription service to be a part of this. And where do you go to get it or whatever?
Yeah, so it's Jack and Jill AI writing assistant, and you can find it at jackandjill.com. So JAQNJIL.com. So Jack and Jill, but spelled all funky.
Jacques
and Jill with one L.
Yeah. So the original concept, we were thinking, Jack was the assistant. Jack is the AI, and Jill is, the writer. So this is. It's kind of, obviously
Jill is the human.
Yeah, Jill is the human. So it's really, taking that side of it, because it is still,
or vice versa. If your employee is a male, he can be like, Jill, write me this, because I'm the jock now.
Yeah. And then,
but it's really you and the tool kind of the notion. It's not just this tool that does
it's
amazing thing. It's you and a tool as a team.
And you can see when you use it, you can sign up. It's a free trial, and you can, try out all the features for a week.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's awesome. But basically, you feed in prompts, and the AI, and this goes along with almost any AI, it's only as good as the input that you're going to give it. So that's the context.
Yeah.
So a lot of people say, well, ChatGPT is not very factual. Well, it wasn't necessarily trained to be factual. If you want it to be factual, you can easily hook it up to a factual database that, then you use the language model to say in natural language what, things about that database.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, Jack and Jill, it takes what used to take us, anywhere from 2 to 4 hours per blog of research, writing,
if you're a fast writer.
If you're a fast writer, for an informative style blog for SEO, and then it cuts it down to, I think we've got it down to like 10 minutes now.
Yeah, and I think it's important for you to also highlight that it's not plagiarized. I think that's important to explain.
Right.
Yeah.
If you ask the same question 2 different days, it'll actually come up with different stuff. It's not copying and pasting anything.
Yeah. So the way it works is it's basically, there's a lot of advanced math behind it, but at the end of the day, it's trying to predict. So you have an input of tokens or text, and then it's trying to predict what's going on, and then it'll have an output of tokens or text. And depending on what you put in, and that's what we do at Jack and Jill, we make sure you vary it by putting in a topic and an audience and an intent and the angle.
So there's enough variety to that input.
There's so much variety to it, impossible to create the same thing twice.
When you say tokens or text, what are you talking about?
So text is broken down into tokens, and tokens are basically, it gets turned into a mathematical representation of words.
Oh.
So that's how the AI actually works, is
so it doesn't actually know what a word is. It's just kind of combinations of tokens that it sees.
And the really cool thing is it turns it into a several thousand number array. So just like an array with several thousand numbers in it. And that number corresponds to a space in a 3-dimensional plane. And let's say cat and dog are probably closer together in that 3D plane than cat and coffee.
Yeah.
So it's all relative, and that's how the AI actually understands.
Oh, it's like a big universe. It's like a theory of relativity, and those are like clues to which galaxy it should fly to.
And the scary thing is we're seeing
something.
So like it's technically just like an auto predict to a degree, but we're seeing very interesting things, like almost like conscious type abilities forming from that. So that's where the AI, NVIDIA just launched a paper saying that they're expecting over the next decade AI to get 1,000,000 times more powerful than it is right now. GPT-4 is supposed to release next week, which is supposed to be at least 100 times.
How do they measure that?
It's based off a lot of, you can read the papers. There's like a specific formula of things that they train it on, as far as cognition.
Right.
And now it's already passing bar exams and things like that. Like we're putting it to its paces, and it's
so if we're going to have
fast.
interstellar travel, it'll probably be because we ask the right questions to an AI tool.
Yeah.
Or it will have wiped us out already and decides it wants to go there.
If we can harness it, I do believe that, it could be huge. We could be an interstellar species.
Fusion.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
all that kind of stuff,
fusion.
right? Like,
and it's already figuring out a lot of stuff, like actual practical things, and like protein folding and stuff to figure out.
Well, and I'm hearing that like it could be like one of the best therapists ever.
Mm-hmm.
Like it can really know what's going to make you stop grabbing that
and-
food or
And you're not going to feel bad about
weed
it.
or whatever.
Yeah.
Or friends. There's
Yeah.
people that have said that it's going to be like most people's best friend are going to be an AI.
There's
because
actually a pretty popular app. I don't remember the name, but someone told me about it recently, and it's a lover.
oh gosh.
And then they
Oh,
had an
gosh.
update, so like you could text your lover, and it was all in AI. And they had an
Saw this
update
story.
where they couldn't say "I love you" anymore, and they were getting depressed.
They basically lobotomized
Yes.
these people's
Because
companions.
they were because it was potentially freaking them out. It getting a
Yeah.
little too close for comfort or
Yeah.
whatever.
But those people were fine. Like, I saw a bunch of people online that were like, I'm okay with that. I knew it was an AI, and you guys just screwed up my whole thing.
Right.
Now she doesn't love me.
All right, guy.
Well, I feel like that's a good place to transition. Like, there's so much mystery in where AI goes. I
Yeah.
think
It's a lot of speculation.
there is a lot of speculation, but you're building the Jack and Jill tool so that it like teaches itself how to get smarter and can like be a long time support system for creative agents of sorts.
Yeah, really, and it's not set up in a way, just to tamper expectations. It's not set up in a way where it automatically codes itself and does
Good.
stuff like that. But people are working on that. So I'm not, but there are people. So it's not we're totally off the hook. But with Jack and Jill, really, I intend on it being the best assistant for writers. It's specifically designed around, market is mostly agencies right now. So
Yeah,
agencies, freelance writers, a bunch of niche sites, small businesses that are trying to grow their SEO. That's kind of our specific market. So if you're looking to grow SEO, grow organically, write long form blogs.
Yeah, even if you're a business owner, it wouldn't hurt getting in and just trying it.
Yeah, no, I'm such a purist. Like, I was just thinking to myself, like, I've never written a blog in less than 4 hours. Usually it's
Yeah.
more than that, and I've never researched either. So, and so anyway,
You are such a purist.
right.
And I do think that's good for the entertainment side, but you're probably
Well,
not helping your SEO any.
Right. Well, and I'm spending 5 hours doing something that I could probably communicate my essential points better in an hour.
Yeah.
In a shorter blog with some
Well,
support.
if you had someone just like run you an SEO keyword analysis and you knew what keywords you need, you could give
I could
that
at
to
least throw
someone
some of
else
that in there.
Yeah.
and just throw it in occasionally. So like
Yeah.
you can link to your other blogs from that. So
I should probably just hire BizOp Media to be my marketing agency.
You know my
Well,
number.
but I'm not an architect or landscaper or anything
I mean,
like that.
so I don't work just in the building industry anymore.
Right.
So
And like you know quite a bit about Loco Think Tank already, so
Yeah.
that saves you some research time.
yeah.
I'm going to call one more short break because I'm an old guy with a small bladder, and then we will do the closing segments.
Okay, perfect.
And we're back. So, Alex, I know you're the most excited to talk about. No, just kidding. So, faith, family, politics. I don't think you're super. Let's start with family. We'll soften you up a little bit. Alex, you can start with family, and then I'll let Nathan decide where he wants to start on the next topic. But first, you're gonna both talk about family a little bit. But
Yeah.
you're part of the same family, so it's easy.
Yeah, I can't talk trash about them, can
You
I?
talked about your dad already quite a bit,
Yeah.
just how supportive he was when you, by the way, my sister got pregnant in her first year of college
Oh, okay.
at 18. And I
Yeah.
was like,
Oh boy.
I remember I took her to lunch. I was like, are you sure you want to be with this guy? He's like 4 years older or something.
Yeah.
Great guy. Rich. Love you if you're listening. But, so that was really hard for her. She, eventually came back and finished college and stuff like that. But my family had a similar experience. And,
Yeah.
she was a few months pregnant when she got married and whatever.
Yeah.
So talk to me about
Yeah.
that experience, but even your brothers, your mom a little bit more, your daughter.
So one of my first jobs was actually working in a hair salon, and I was my mom's assistant. So
Ooh.
she was a hairdresser. I always knew the best hairstyles.
So no wonder you were so
Yeah.
popular and attention seeking.
I was very attention seeking. I don't know if people really liked me that much, but but yeah. So that was fun. My mom, I mean, she's a very creative person. She's retired now. And so she kind of ruined me in a sense where even to this day, paying to get my hair done hurts. Like I don't know how to explain it other than I feel like I shouldn't have to pay for it.
Thanks, Mom.
And
You just need a really good friend that you do marketing for or something. That
I need a
has-
trade-off.
Yeah.
Because it's like it's not that, I mean, of course, hairdressers are super talented and they deserve to get the money that,
Sure,
they charge.
But it is a couple hundred bones to get a really
Oh,
nice...
a few hundred if you're a woman.
Right.
And so it's
I
like...
balk at $50 for a haircut,
Yeah.
or 30.
It's expensive whenever you were trained in your very mushy brain stage that you don't pay for that. Mom does it in the kitchen.
Right.
And so that's been hard. But I mean, yeah, so she is where I got my creative side.
Yeah.
My dad taught me a lot about just like the structured and like responsibility. My mom is all creative, and my parents are still married. They're super
Must
cute.
be almost 50 years or something
Yeah.
by now. Huh?
Well, yeah, I mean 40.
40,
But
sorry.
yeah.
My math
No,
isn't
it's
that
okay.
great, but I forget how young you guys are, you little pumpkins.
Yeah. But they're approaching 40. It's in the
Close.
30s.
Sorry.
But either way,
Didn't mean to
they've
age you
been
guys. You're probably younger than me, but whatever.
maybe.
I don't know.
Might be.
I'm 48.
I mean, yeah, we're millennials. So
Fair. So anyway,
my brothers, I have an older brother, Zach. He is he's super quiet, but just such a great brother. I will preface
are they all
this.
back home now still?
Yeah, they all live in Chattanooga. My brothers and I have always gotten along. We're not the type of dynamic that never had any big issues. We never fought growing up.
Even them with each other or nothing?
No, none of us. There were times growing up where we shared a bedroom, all three of us.
Uh-huh.
And I mean, we've always gotten along well. My younger brother, Drew, he is very much a free spirit. Just, I don't know. He is also just, we all have our own personalities. Zach's quiet and introverted, but, loves like movies and film and stuff like that. Drew is kind of more along the lines of like free spirit, kind of dresses a little funny.
Plays in a band.
Actually,
plays in like 5 bands.
Eccentric.
like 20
person.
bands.
Oh, wow.
Plays in some band.
Are you jealous, Nathan?
I am so jealous.
Yeah. He has an organ in his bedroom.
I like him already.
Yeah, like he's just a very unique guy.
Was your family from around there?
Yes.
Like your grandparents are around there
I
and
swear,
stuff like that?
most families in that area got off the boat and never left.
Right.
So like
It's that way in North Dakota too. Like people don't really leave there.
Yeah, like you get settled and you just don't leave. And so yeah, I mean, my family all from that North Georgia area.
Yeah. I draw a 100-mile circle and you're pretty much catching
Yep.
200 people that are all blood.
Yeah. I mean, you have family get-togethers all the time with like extended family.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, that's
Cool.
my family.
Nathan, your turn, and then we're gonna go back to you guys together to talk about your daughter.
Yeah.
Is it just one?
Yep.
Yeah, that's
Yep. So I'm the oldest of 4 boys. So I've got 3 brothers. Both of my parents, I would say they're both diligent, hardworking. I think, that's probably one of the reasons why they got divorced is they're both just they're hitting the same lane.
Yeah.
They're both very proactive. My mom is, always looking to, advance things and build things. Currently,
Cool.
she's an accountant. She, works with a bunch of different companies. She's, doing her own thing and building her house and all that. My dad's currently a contractor.
Oh.
So he ended up getting out of the sign shop space and motorcycle space and ended up getting into the construction into things.
Well, and we didn't get into this, but it seems like the right time. Like, were you leaving an active I'm running the motorcycle shop situation when you came to Colorado too? And
pretty much. So it was a tough transition. Like, I mean, my dad didn't want to run it. I didn't want to run it at a certain point. Like, because with that industry, like, I mean, it started and it was doing good, and we learned so much and we marketed a ton. But there, after the recession, really, after the housing market kind of crashed, it was so tough to keep up really with the online vendors, because they were able to charge under MSRP for a lot of things.
Right.
And for a little small town shop who's making all of their money, like we're only making money on tires, and every person comes in and is like, well, I can get it on J&P Cycles for so and so.
Right.
Whew,
Well, damn it, son.
Right.
I can't compete with
that
that.
accent. That just
Yeah, so that's pretty spot on.
That's what it was.
You
though.
guys have actually lost a lot of your accents
I know,
since
it's
I first
sad.
met you. It is sad.
I haven't tried to, but
No.
No, I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I laid it on thicker when I worked at that shop. You know, you have to. You got to know your audience. Like I'm working with like 50, 60-year-old like
They're like looking for
Vietnam.
some Deliverance
Yeah.
kind of region motorcycle mechanic that's like the
Yeah.
motorcycle whisperer.
yeah.
But that was tough. So yeah, I mean, we did kind of just like, I mean, we left. I mean, I left and kind of left it there, you know, with Dad, and he managed for a few years, and you know, he kind of dwindled it down, and
Yeah.
you know, shut it down a few years after that. But
Fair
Yeah.
enough. I know that you. I can't. What was your daughter's name again?
Ellie.
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 And she is quite a charmer. Like I remember when we were business neighbors, and she was 4 or
Yeah.
something, and I just love to see her face and,
Yeah.
and her person roaming the hallways. We do a one-word description of children around here, and I'll give you each a one-word description just to have a little contrast.
Okay, I'll start. Fiery.
Fiery, yeah.
determined.
Ooh, that combination of attributes should serve her quite well.
Hopefully.
Right, or put her in prison.
Or yeah.
But she's not a middle child, so that odds
No,
better
she's,
less.
she's
right?
the only child, so she gets all the resources.
She's an
she should be.
Enneagram 7. She
Oh.
loves
I'm a
adventure.
7/8, yeah.
7/8, yeah. She is too. She loves adventure.
She's 8 now?
Or
No, how old is she?
she's 12.
12 now. Oh.
She is riding the Max line right now to go home.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, she's very independent.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love the public bus here actually. It's so
It
great.
actually is really useful.
Yeah.
Jill and I, well, you have
Yeah.
exchange students, and
Yeah.
like there was one day where we just didn't have a ride for
Yeah.
Manuela, and the neighbor kid that goes to Pooter had COVID,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like, well, the bus stop is right over there. Like this is how it works.
Yeah.
You know?
And it's pretty easy.
It's
And
super easy.
It's
Yeah.
the best one you're gonna get. I'm telling you. If you've ever been in Chicago riding any of those lines,
Right.
Like, if you've ever been in New York, like this place is great. Like,
Oh,
New
for
York?
sure.
Yeah, even if you know New York, it's so easy to get lost. But, you know, Fort Collins, the city planner did well.
Yeah,
The original one,
for sure.
for sure. But, yeah.
Recently, you guys have been kind of sucking it, but whatever. Just kidding. that zoning change thing.
Yeah.
That was gonna totally screw
Yep.
my wife and myself because our
Oh,
house
really?
wasn't. Our house is 1,000 square feet, so if you had less than a 1,300 square foot, you could only build a 600 square foot accessory dwelling unit.
Oh, yeah.
But
we
we've
looked
got
into
10,000 square feet in our property,
Yep.
which means we can build a carriage house now and always have been able to.
So we haven't been able to, and I
now
actually
you can. Yeah.
Wait, you can
Well,
now?
you could after the change if it comes back into effect.
It's not 10,000. It's like 9,000.
Oh, yeah, I don't know. Well, but any
Yeah.
place could build one
Oh,
with the
okay.
change.
That's
And so it took away my carriage house unobtainium status,
Yeah.
and it punished me by limiting how big of a thing I could do. So
Wow.
whoever put that caveat in there where if you've got too small a house, you can't build a bigger thing, like,
That's stupid.
you're lame.
Yeah.
That's
Because
exact-
we have a bigger yard.
Right.
We have space.
Yeah, I have more space. Yeah.
and that's the exact person who should want to build more stuff. Is the person with a tiny house.
Right.
Whatever.
Anyway, yeah, my builder was like, well, you just have to do an addition onto your house, and then you can build a bigger carriage house. I'm like, well, okay, that's
All right.
easy. Anyway, we're
Yeah.
on family.
Ellie.
Tell me the love story just a little bit more, like outside of the fact that she didn't quite tip your motorcycle over. What was it that ended up winning you around to young Alex here? Or were you Alex?
mean-
Are you Alexandria, right?
Alexandria is my business name.
Yeah,
Just because everybody thinks I'm a guy if I say Alex.
fair.
Yeah. If you know her, it's Alex.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, yeah, we met in high school. I mean, she was probably, I don't know, she was probably attracted to the motorcycle and me playing in the band, if I had to guess.
I'm sure guitar
But-
goggles go a long ways.
Yeah. But I mean, at the time, I raced motocross and did
Oh,
some
wow.
other cool stuff. So I was, yeah,
Yeah, you were one of the
I
bad
was-
cool kids.
I was cool.
Which was that cool with your like kind of conservative family, high school principal.
No.
Yeah.
less cool.
And Nathan was also 3 years older than me.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he's out of high school.
Yeah, and
Or kind of high school dropout, rather.
high school dropout.
Working at the motorcycle mechanic shop that his dad owns or whatever, with all these Harley guys around that are feeding him beer and who knows what else.
Yeah.
Actually, he didn't smoke weed or drink beer or anything until he met me.
That's true. It was like many years later.
I was a very bad influence.
I was in I was into my like 20s before I ever.
So I think
did
I asked the
anything.
question I didn't get an answer for, but what were you saying? Like what? What attracted you to her though? Like the bad boy is what attracted her to you.
So I think it's the same thing that it is now. It's always been our communication ability. Like I feel like we've always been able to just talk and
She
work
gets
things
you.
out. And yeah, she gets
Not
me.
everybody gets you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and she's got
Most people don't even.
No,
They
I
don't
mean,
get them.
we don't necessarily have a lot in common. Like not the same music, not the same sort of style and stuff on most things. But I think the core values, are the same. We're both. Family-oriented people. I think we both want to work on things, better ourselves, be better, today than we were yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
That's like an echo of my relationship with Jill.
Yeah.
So kudos to you. And we're coming up on 20 years here soon.
Oh,
Of marriage, actually.
That's
That's
awesome.
a big
Yeah.
one.
You guys get to count at least half of those 8 years of not marriage.
I feel like,
yeah.
at this point, it's like 14 years since we started dating in high school, and I just use that.
Yeah,
I think that's cool.
Yeah.
that works.
Yeah. So outside of the bad boyness, like I assume there was also some other redeeming factors of this young man that
Yeah.
when you were defending him to your dad or your mom,
Yeah.
what were you saying?
So
Maybe that's different than what your heart was saying, but it might be
Yeah.
the same, I suspect.
I feel like Nathan, I've always been able to see the soft side of Nathan,
Yeah.
which he doesn't like to show a lot. And
Yeah.
I don't know, something about our connection, he was able to open that up to
Yeah.
me.
He can show you his
Yeah.
underbelly. And
Yeah.
It's not as easy with others.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
I
fair.
mean, and another thing that I always loved about Nathan was just how much of a dreamer he is. I'm a dreamer too. And so,
Yeah.
we became really close friends outside of our relationship, just talking about like what if and what could be.
Yeah,
And
I love
we
it.
still do that today.
Mm-hmm.
We do it every single day.
That's cool.
I feel like we've always just had that connection where we grow together.
It's beautiful. Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm going to move on to politics or faith. Nathan, which would you choose to hit first?
I mean, you can do politics. I'll do a little bit on faith and.
You both have to talk about both, by the way.
Okay.
Just so
Okay,
you
good,
know.
good. I was about to say, if I can't touch on politics, I feel like that's.
No,
I'm
you
missing
can
out.
both touch on both. We got 20 minutes
All right.
plus whatever. Yeah, I can go over a little bit
So-
today.
I'm thinking, really on faith. So my parents weren't very religious growing up. I mean, I think just working jobs,
Yeah.
my parents were working sometimes, 2 jobs, each,
Yeah.
and it was just 3 kids, 4 kids after, a certain amount of years. Like it just gets, it's a lot of
Yeah.
effort. So I think, we went to church and stuff, Christmas and Easter occasionally.
sometimes, yeah.
But, as a kid, you're just walking in here like, why am I here?
Right.
I don't quite understand. And then we left, but I guess getting into, so middle school was kind of a pivotal time. So this is in Tennessee, Hickson Middle School. At the time, they still had a Bible study class. So across the country,
Wow.
mid 2000s, they wiped that shit out.
Right.
So this was back before that. And it wasn't a religious class. It was a very history-based class.
This is what the Bible says.
Yeah, and they tried to paint the story of, well, here's where we think it happened. Here's the people we think were involved. Here's what we think they're talking about here. And that class never once pushed me towards any certain thought belief, but I was very interested in it because they just painted the picture so well.
Yeah.
So then I
yeah.
started picking it up on my own, and I guess getting into high school, I started, dating some girls that went to church. So I started going, and, it's just like a friend group thing. And, I got more involved in it. And then,
Oh, yeah, because you're like 18 when you're like 15 when you actually started seeing each other. Okay,
Yeah.
now I'm putting that together.
Yeah, so I'm a little bit older. I didn't meet Alex until like the end of high school.
Yeah.
So, early high school, I'm still figuring stuff out, I find a conflict, I go to several different churches there. I'm in several different, church groups and things like that, and it's
Because you're dating several different women.
no. But
But you were curious.
He
You were
wishes.
super curious about this
I was
topic.
curious.
You're trying to get to the bottom of it. And
and
why
I-
do all these different churches believe all these different things?
That was huge, and nobody would give real facts on anything other than and nobody ever had a real reason why they believed any one particular thing other than
That's what we do here.
well, I don't know, my parents believed that and they taught me this, and that's why I believe that.
Yeah.
And it just never did enough for me. So I honestly, I left religion completely, in terms of like a traditional organized, associating with any one thing. But moving out here, I've always considered myself like more of a spiritual person. Like I do think there's something a lot bigger than this little blue dot here that we've got going on. I think there's something, no matter what you want to call it, that's definitely bigger than us. And I think we did the yoga training. I know we didn't touch on that, but Alex and I are both certified yoga teachers.
Oh, you are?
Yeah. So
Sweet.
we both got our 200 hour, and that was meditating like 4 hours plus a day will really rock your mind state.
That's kind of my kind of perspective a little bit, is like it's kind of all the same stuff. Like if you can pray deeply for 30 minutes, it's kind of the same thing as doing a good meditation
and
or
if you
whatever.
if you listen to the Bible or read the Bhagavad Gita or any of the others, like if you really, I feel like, get past the language, which has been filtered and refiltered and rewrote, and Caesar here and a king there rewrites it to their version, like dig through it, and I feel like they're all kind of speaking the same touches throughout there, and I feel like
Ish.
yeah.
Although we'll challenge you at one place, which is most of the other religions are about doing something so that you can attain something.
Yeah.
And Christianity is about grace through belief, through faith.
Yeah.
And so it's a free gift of God, not for doing something, but for believing something kind of in a different way.
Yeah. It's not by like living it out actions. It's
Kind of,
about-
yeah.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's, that's also
That for me was critical to like deciding from all this array of different cool things.
Yeah.
Anyway,
And
I digress.
Yeah, and I think, really what just stuck out to me, I think, with faith was, really just knowing that the way I see faith is I was given these abilities and these talents, and I have no control over them. I had, I didn't choose to be born where I was born. I didn't choose to be interested as a kid in the things that I was even interested in. Like, really, I don't think we have a whole lot of choice in those things. So that's where I am grateful, that I was given those gifts and things, and I do have the faith that I'll continue to try to make the right decisions. But, in terms of, I guess following one sort of, set of rules or doctrine, I don't.
So what is your like value guide when you like have a hard time with a ethical decision or this and that? Is it all instinctual, or like what is the like one of my challenges with the world today, honestly, is that if anything goes, then anything really goes, and we can just kill each other. We're just walking meat bags anyway, and and so if you take that, even whether it's any of the current events, like if you take those things to their logical conclusions, we can do whatever we want.
Yeah, maybe. I don't think necessarily that religion is the thing keeping those barriers down.
No, I don't think so either.
But I think
a common value set is.
Yeah, and I think we've determined our values personally. We're big family people. We're big growth,
integrity,
learning,
growth,
creativity.
learning. Yeah.
Like Alex and I both, like, we're never going to try to hurt anybody, and that's, I don't know. I don't think it doesn't, at least for me, it doesn't tap too much into, my, I guess, spiritual or religious practices so much.
If you look at like the 10 Commandments, we live by those. Like,
yeah.
They're
You
they're
probably
natural.
read it. I rewrote it as the 10 Principles for Your Best Good.
Yeah.
Some blogs ago, probably a couple of years ago, really. And it was like, really, these are good things.
Yeah.
Like
They
they're
are
all
great.
useful.
Your life will
They're
be
great.
easier.
if you
by
don't do
living-
these things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the only reason I don't really participate, I think, is it's not the teachings, it's not the core values
It's
of
the power structure.
It's the power structure.
Yeah.
It's the people.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, the people are corrupt. Like it
They can
you
be.
know,
Yeah.
like and I think they're.
So
If you played by the system completely, sure, it would be perfect. But
I have an experience that really shaped how, like, it changed the way I felt about Christianity in a very unfortunate way.
I want to hear it.
So
I'm sorry.
I went to a church one time, and a girl, it was a very small church in a very small town in Georgia, 13 members.
Okay.
Okay, so you can think about what that is in your own minds. And a girl, 16 years old, gets pregnant, and her parents are members of the church. She's a member of the church. She comes in, and they publicly kicked her out in front of everyone
Wow.
because she was pregnant. And I remember sitting there thinking, oh my gosh, I cannot believe this is happening.
Right.
And it just showed how corrupt someone can be in their power
Yeah.
to have that say, and nobody stood up and said, hey, this is wrong. Like, nobody had that power to do that.
It's such a shame.
Yeah, it's such a shame.
It really is.
So I feel like
I'm sorry. And plus, you got pregnant like 2 years later.
Yeah.
As an unmarried
and this is
gal dating a non-Christian
and
older boy.
And this wasn't my parents' church. It was a friend's church. But, like, I remember anytime I went to church there, I would have to wear these long dresses with shoulder pads. Like, it was crazy.
And this was during the time of, like, literally that show Teen Mom that was, like, at its peak. So, like, there was this whole stigma.
There was a
on just
local, Macy, in the first season. Like, she was literally from our town.
Oh gosh.
So there's a lot of like just persecution from that too. So at the
Yeah.
time, before Alex, so like before I kind of gave it up, like I was playing in bands and stuff, and it's so funny because none of us drank, none of us smoked, we didn't do anything, we were good,
Right.
good damn kids.
Technically, you were good kids.
And we played heavy rock and roll and metal, and I mean we got shunned out of all sorts of places.
Sure.
Like and it was just. I don't know. I think the judgment that comes with it is, I don't know why. I don't catch that from other.
No, I get it. And I guess one thing I would encourage you, like, I've shunned a lot of churches. I've shopped a lot of churches. I've shunned a lot of churches. And, like, the church we go to now has, like, 4 pastors. Like, so one guy isn't, like, the power person. Like, there's other people to check them.
I think that's real important.
Because people are not infallible. Like,
and we see that a lot in the South. Is like, honestly, like you go down there, if you had a couple $1,000,000, or even if you're pulling in 10% from the local community from a tithe, like you're running that town.
Oh
a lot of times, like so much corruption.
The most powerful person in town, and it's just a corrupt way. And then pretty soon, like, 2 of the unwed moms in town actually have the DNA of the freaking pastor, and bullshit like that.
Yeah.
So that's some criticism, but I can tell also that at least you, Alex, you've got a lot of appreciation for the faith.
Yeah, absolutely. I've kind of become this person, especially when teaching it to my daughter. We should really keep our faith as close to us personally as possible, and like have our own experiences, and not just take everything that everyone else is telling you at face value. Chew on it a little bit. Like, how does that relate to you? And that's very much how I look at things from a faith perspective. And my mom, I love you, Mom, if you're listening to this. But, she comes at me sometimes and she's like, you just need to read your Bible. You need to do this and that. And I am very much the type of person that's like, I'm good with God. Like, I'm good. I have a great relationship. I love where I am. And so that feedback doesn't bother me anymore. But for a long time, I thought something was wrong with me until I found a good relationship with it.
Well, and that's one of my big criticisms probably with the Christian faith especially, is like, if you don't fit this descriptor of what a good Christian is and does, which is totally variable based on the church and the region and
Yeah.
all these things.
Yeah.
There's like, the what do you call it? What's the Catholic light thing? Episcopalian.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's basically a gay church now.
How did that happen?
I don't know, but it happened. Like, or maybe I'm wrong about that, and I'm sorry, all you Episcopalians out there, if you're mad now. But like, there's at least a few denominations and elements of things that, because gay people, God loves gay people too,
Yeah.
and like, so they've like literally taken over arms of certain elements of churches to be like really cool with
Yeah.
mixed or whatever gay
And
marriages
I think
and
it's
this and
it's
that, whatever, right?
representation at the end of the day. Like, I think people need that, spiritual representation. Like, if they can't show up to church and congregate, well,
It's hard. Like,
that's
yeah,
tough.
and frankly, like, even like being part of the Unitarian Church is like better than being like church is stupid.
Yeah.
I think it's less good than,
Yeah.
because I do think that Jesus had a special message and a special calling in some ways,
Yeah.
a different pedigree than some of the other faiths backgrounds, and I'll
Well,
challenge you to
and I
check
would-
it out sometime. But
Yeah, and I would say that too. I mean, I
Yeah.
definitely think like we wouldn't still be talking about Jesus if he wasn't such an impactful figure.
right,
But
right.
I think
It was a more clear lens to me.
Yeah.
To me, it was a more clear passage to how God really is than a lot of the other faiths
yeah.
provide.
Yeah.
But and that could be, I mean, even region too. Like, I mean, I always call it the geographical lottery. But we got lucky that we're born here where we were born. Because there's a million other people. One of the first ventures I went to was China in 2008. So I guess I was 18,
Oh,
19.
okay.
My aunt actually, she gave me the opportunity of a lifetime and took me out there. And there's a lot of Buddhists, a lot of Christians. There's a good gamut of people over there, and you see they live by the same morals a lot of times too.
Yeah,
Like, especially now geopolitically, like we think of China as like an enemy, but back then,
Well, the people aren't.
no, and
No.
back,
You
and
know,
ba-
the CCP certainly is.
yeah, and back then, I think they can be if we want them to be for sure.
Well,
But
and we can paint them that way if we want that to happen.
Yeah.
Looks like we're working on it right now.
expand our geopolitical presence.
Should we
but,
shift? We just shifted to politics. Nathan, why don't you start?
yeah,
We can start with global politics and we'll boil
I-
it down to local.
I love global politics.
I love how nuclear keeps trending on Twitter.
Right?
You don't know if it's energy or the bomb.
Right. So I put a post on LinkedIn like the day after the Nord Stream
Yeah.
bombing, and it was to the best of my memory, it was who blew up the Nord Stream pipeline. Number one, Russia. Putin's so crazy. Number two, the U.S. Europe is our gas customer now. Number three, Ukraine with CIA support. And number four, eco-terrorists. And it was a tie between Russia and the U.S., actually.
Well, and now we know.
Well, maybe, but we don't really
Yeah,
know.
maybe.
Like, there's a lot of finger pointing. We'll never probably actually know.
You'll
Yeah.
you'll
Who
know,
do you guys think?
You'll know what the winner tells you in the next 50 years.
Right. History will tell you who
Yeah.
actually did that.
I mean, I think it's obvious. I mean, I think, well,
Well, we said we were going to.
the move was telegraphed. Now, generally, if I'm trying to keep some intel, I don't say, well, if they continue with this building, we're gonna
Well, but
take
telegraphed
it out.
by who?
Yeah, the old man who doesn't know how to read the box.
Right. He's like, oh, wait, shit, that was do not repeat this box.
I should have been reading
I
that.
should have told the intern to never put his thoughts there.
Yeah.
Ooh,
That is one thing that I found. It doesn't matter generally what spectrum you're on politically. You weren't happy if you did or did not vote for Biden. You're like,
So when people are still proud they voted for Biden, I'm like,
That's the problem. I voted for Biden, and I'm like, oh, I don't want to admit that.
but talk to me about, like, are we in World War III?
I think okay, geopolitical just topics are my jam lately, and I think we are in the beginning of it. I think we're testing the defenses of each other, and I think it doesn't. Unfortunately, so I think we need to look about it from, like, as U.S. people, what are our enemies saying? And I always say this when it comes to, like, geopolitical conflict, like, what are they saying over there? to their people, because I've been to China, I've been to Japan, and
Right.
I know
Well,
they're
the
not.
Chinese people don't hate Americans.
No, they don't. They love Americans.
And American
Like,
people don't hate Chinese.
when
No.
when
They
I
don't care at
went
all.
when I went over there, I got so much love and
Totally.
curiosity. Like, it was insane. So like, I try to think, who's the beneficiary here, and unfortunately, I do believe if you look and see how many bases are around China, how many U.S. bases are around China versus how many Chinese bases are around U.S., it's you see who the aggressor is.
Sure.
And we know, and we've known for a long time, that it's in the U.S.'s best interest since World War II, World War I, to continue that geopolitical push.
And it's arguable that the world is better if there's one decider, kind of.
you
Ish.
you could
A
say that.
global.
Although the risk of having the petrodollar go away is
Well,
incredible.
today
right?
today there was an announcement that China actually facilitated the negotiations between Iran and Saudi Arabia, which is huge because
Oh, shit. We thought we had Saudi Arabia on our
we
team.
did not facilitate that, and that is going to introduce China. Between China, Iran, Saudi Arabia, and Russia, they will control almost all of the oil, and we fucked ourselves because of it.
Yeah.
So I do think Americans need to wake the hell up and ask themselves, do we want to continue spending
Better
our
check
tax
yourself
dollars?
before you wreck yourself.
Do we want to
Is that what I'm
continue
hearing?
spending our tax dollars and taking money out of our pocket to fund this expansion that's pissing off the people who control
Right.
a lot of one particular resource? Like, just ask. Because those people over there, or even we look at the people in South Africa, like, technically they're our allies, but the South African president says, well, the Russians never came and colonized us. They never came and took all of our people and our buildings and forced us to live their ways. So
Right.
why should I be against them?
Like, frankly, South Africa's, well, that's part of the woke fucking conversation, because South Africa's been wrecked
Yeah.
Yeah.
by, like, and I get it, like, we can't have segregation and stuff like that, but, like, my dad employs 2 South Africans on his farm because they're refugees, basically, of when South Africa was a farming nation.
Yeah.
And now they are not. Like, they
And it's
burned all those farms up by stealing them and giving them to black farmers that didn't know how to do it.
Yeah. And
Well-
I just don't want to see the U.S. keep encroaching these areas, and we do it in such a weird way. We go in and we say, "Hey, we'll give you a fuck, we'll
Right.
give you a fuck ton of money to develop these resources. Well, you've got oil here, but you don't have the ability to get it out of the ground. Here you go. We'll give you a shit ton of money. You pay us back at an exorbitant interest rate, and when they can't, we'll come take that property and go take those assets at a much cheaper
yeah.
cost. And if you're not okay with that, well, that's fine. Just sell us that natural resource infinitely cheaper than you were going to sell it to before."
And China is doing exactly the same thing with the nations of Africa.
Yeah.
So don't think of them as a good guy.
No, I don't think
You
I don't
know,
think of them as a good guy.
and maybe they're just counterbalancing the American empirical threat, or maybe they want to be the empiricals. I kind of think there's a hunger that they have too.
Yeah.
I
to
think
be
I think
global.
they have to, like, put yourself in their shoes and think to yourself,
Maybe.
well, shit. You know,
If we
Taiwan.
don't-
Do you understand how close Taiwan is to? It's China. It's like literally like a block away.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
It's basically China. I've been to all those places. They're all basically China. They're all the same relatives.
Right.
We don't need to try to assimilate all of those. I think it's just a political power move. I think we're,
Oh,
we're
sure.
using
Well, and
With all of them.
huge dollars of American companies, like
Oh, yeah.
billions of dollars of American companies get their supplies from Taiwan and
Oh,
that
yeah.
region and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So
Oh, yeah.
it's very complicated.
Yeah.
I bet.
I would like to see it on a more, like, back in the late 2000s. I feel like the trade was going great. Like, us in China, we were doing pretty good. We were, trading back
Bosom
and
buddies,
forth.
yeah.
Yeah, we had the
We had a big trade deficit. They would buy all our bonds. It's cool.
Yeah.
Well, basically, as soon as America signaled its interest in increasing inflation, China quit buying our bonds.
Yeah.
Because they're like, well, if you're just going to do that,
We go elsewhere.
and so that's a complex thing. I'm actually, like, most people don't know this much shit about stuff. So, and you obviously do too, Alex, because you're chiming in at least on a relative basis
We
on all
talk
these
about
things.
this a lot.
Yeah. What's your, like? We'll zoom back down to local here, but do you have any adjusted perspective on the global politics?
I definitely think there's a lot of power moves going on, and it's clear that the general public in all of these countries just want peace.
Right.
except I do think that
How can the general public force peace when that's what they want, but governments always seem to want war?
Yeah, and they do these plays behind the scenes that, you know, like if the U.S. were to go and bomb, you know, Russia tomorrow, like it's not like we had any choice in that.
Right.
And
as the citizens.
Right.
as the citizens.
Right.
And like I just hope that the internet is loud enough at this point where most people can understand that.
We don't want World War III.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We don't want
And
World War III.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, put your foot down and stop the money, stop the flow of all of that.
Yeah.
Because that's how it's all ran. It's just
Well, and so people really that don't want to be in World War III, like, do we sacrifice Ukraine on the altar of not doing World War III?
I mean, and that's the hard part. So I have 4 contractors in Ukraine.
Yeah.
So it like really sits heavy on my heart. Like sometimes they don't answer and I literally think to myself, are
Maybe
they
they're
dead?
dead.
Yeah, like it's a real thought. And so it's a complicated issue, but you know, I still have to look out for
Like ultimately,
my
yes.
family.
Like World War III is bad
Yeah.
enough that
Yeah, like if everybody loses, no, it's not worth
Right.
that.
This isn't like the nuclear wars of, you know, the 50s and the 60s.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
They don't fail like they used to. They have a lot longer range. They have a hell of a lot more of them.
who I think I forget whose quote this is, but it said, you know, it was right after World War II. You know, World War III will be fought with nuclear weapons, and World War IV will be fought with bows and arrows and sticks and stones.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you know, it's a scary thought.
Yeah.
Well, and that's why, you know, I think we have to, as a country, get beyond the two-party like ideology. We're not going to get past those systems. Like those systems are so ingrained that like, I mean the ideology. Like people are going to have to sit at home and think to themselves, am I willing to hate the other party so much that it causes the destruction of this country?
You know,
Because
there's
that's
an
what's going to
interesting
happen.
notion there, because like if we put a quiz out, well, the problem is the media is so manipulative now,
Yeah.
and people are so ignorant. And it's only going to get worse when we quit thinking, because we quit writing, because writing is thinking. And
Yeah.
so
I think, you know, definitely, I mean, you should write and think, but
Yeah.
you had hit it on there. Limit the media. Like, what is your intake? You can only be influenced
well,
by
how do
this.
we know what's going on without the media?
Well, it depends on the media you're
You look
consuming.
outside.
Right.
Too. Like if you're looking at Fox and CNN, like just know that they are only reporting to get ratings.
And just remember that whether you're watching Fox or you're watching, what is it, the Wall Street Journal, who are two totally different opinions, they're both owned by Rupert Murdoch. They're
Right.
both owned by the same company feeding you bullshit. So whoever's listening to this, stop watching Fox News, stop watching CNN, stop watching any of those motherfuckers.
I like News Nation.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Just to give you
Maybe like NPR, or also I think global. Like,
NPR is like Propagandaville for sure.
okay.
yeah.
Like-
NPR,
Just saying. Love you, NPR. Listen to you all the time. I'm
Yeah.
actually advertising on you right now, but
But NPR is definitely like for clicks and things like that.
Yeah.
Like it feels like news. At
but they're
least,
trying ish.
Yeah,
a
but I
little
think
bit.
Yeah.
maybe
I don't
the
know.
biggest thing is just diversify it.
Right, right.
Get the other opinions, and that's why I do know a little bit about geopolitics, is because I just happen to follow a couple people who literally like they live in other places in the world.
Yeah, that matters a lot.
Yeah.
because you know we are.
So
pretty
thank you,
connected with
Elon,
this.
for buying Twitter.
I actually really enjoy Twitter now.
It's so much better.
It is.
It is so much. Better.
It took me literally 10 years to like fully commit to Twitter, and now I love it.
Yeah.
Like I like how there's no filtering. You can read comments, and it's like you're getting what you need to. Like
Except
you're
the fact
getting-
that it's coming out that for years they were working with the FBI to hide a bunch of
Right.
stuff. This is the stuff that I like. I don't trust any of those motherfuckers. Don't listen to any news source or any social media or any government official. I think I'm libertarian at this point. I think
Oh yeah, I've been libertarian like before. Like I voted for Ross Perot with my first
dude,
vote.
I'm gonna vote for Ron Swanson the next.
I would
to God.
definitely vote for him. I was somebody made a bit of a podcast the other day. They were like, you know, Elon Musk is the only person in the world that would spend $44 billion to buy a nonprofit company.
Yeah.
and then be the whistleblower on his
Yeah.
own company.
Yeah.
I mean, for real.
I mean, he posted, I think yesterday, a line of code that said, like, filter out all comments about vaccinations, even if they're claiming it's harming people, essentially, is what it said.
Oh,
and,
wow.
And he said, this is concerning.
Right.
And then people are like, oh my gosh, stop spreading fake news. Like, people are just, like, attacking them, and I'm like, whatever.
So this was a thing. That
Yeah.
was the code.
Well,
Like, how can you attack that?
And I guess since we're on the political spot, like, think of how big and how much effort was put into silencing certain ideals back when COVID first came out.
Oh, gosh.
Like, I think anytime, it doesn't matter what side of the fence you're on, anytime somebody's saying, no, don't think that way, perk your fucking ears up.
Totally.
Because something is wrong.
Yeah.
Well,
and
like the Ohio thing recently.
Right.
Like, oh,
It's
no
no big deal.
no
though.
problem here.
It's no big deal.
And then there's dead fish everywhere.
right.
And people
rainbow
are
water all
reporting
over the
Yeah.
place.
People are reporting peeing blood. Like, no, it's totally...
Yeah.
Totally
well,
normal.
yeah. It's
And that's where...
if the government
so, like,
says it's safe, just stay home.
So this is...
I'm
well,
leaving.
the loss of integrity. Honestly, to stay on this topic for a while, but the loss of integrity by institutions of
Mm-hmm.
media and government now.
Yeah.
You can't
Like-
trust them.
Oh,
No.
and CDC and WHO
And the
and
FBI is taking over. Like, who the fuck
Right.
can you trust? And that's
Right.
why... Like,
None of them.
When the...
destroy the alphabet soup.
When
That's
when
my
the government
plan.
tells me, oh, well, the vaccination came from China, or the
Yeah, the
disease
vi-
virus came
right.
from China, or whatever, like, you don't know what to believe. Like,
Right.
You know.
Well, and it's starting to look like it came from a lab that was funded by us by the
yeah.
people that got money because they funded it.
Well-
Well, that's a pretty sweet business model. You just create a bug,
Oh,
create
yeah.
Go
something
fix
that
the bug.
fixes it,
Yeah.
and then sell the shit out of it.
Yeah.
Especially if you have the government mandate that they
It
do the
sounds
thing.
like, so, like, think of how...
and your wife is the one that's overseeing you.
Yeah. Oh my
Shit.
gosh.
Yeah.
Anyway, I digress.
No.
The tinfoil hat is definitely more protective than the mask in modern society.
Yeah.
It's been funny how, like, conspiracy theories all of a sudden, like, you are a conspiracy theorist if you don't believe UFOs were shot down out of the sky. Like, all of a sudden, it's just like, it's so funny how it took a complete 180. And now,
Yes,
It is true.
it is true. We are in the closing segment,
yeah, let's do
the
it.
Loco experience. And do you want to do one each? Or you guys have been together for so long, there's
Yeah.
probably a shared Loco experience, maybe. I don't know. The craziest experience that you would like to share.
Oh, gosh. You want to go first or me?
Sure, you.
Oh, I don't know. Craziest experience. Honestly,
Moving here, I have to think is,
actually, no.
Close, no?
Having a child at 18.
yeah.
I remember.
Drink it fast.
I remember being in the hospital, pushing her out. I was in labor for like 14 hours.
Oh, wow.
It did not, like, it felt real, I guess. I was like in this like teenage fog of what I thought was
Right.
reality. And then seeing her come out, seeing Nathan's legs buckle and about to pass out, and looking at my daughter, I was like, oh God, my life is different. And in fact, now looking back on anything before that moment, it feels like a dream. It
Yeah.
doesn't feel like it was me.
Huh.
So I would have to say
You
that,
became you when she became her.
yeah, I mean, that's really,
In some ways.
yeah, that's really, I feel like I'm a completely different person. Like I was just born a different person.
Born again in
that
a different
moment.
way than maybe
Yeah.
your
And
family or some of your friends or whatever.
Yeah. and I'm not a
describe it.
victim. And I'm
Right.
not a victim. Like I look at that like, wow, you know what? I wouldn't recommend having a child at 18, but I was fortunate enough to have that and have the type of situation where I think I came out better.
Yeah.
So,
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Nathan,
Um,
did you have any babies?
yeah, no. Yeah. So I think, so I have this one experience, which is just like when I think of the craziest experience, it's just like serendipitous. So I was, I guess, 21 at the time, and I was an avid rock climber.
Mm.
So I was out climbing one day, and I had some friends with me. I had a group of friends left. I was climbing by myself for a bit, and I had another group of friends that were supposed to come later that night. So I'm climbing by myself. I'm doing some outdoor night climbing.
And you're talking some high-end stuff, I'm guessing, because you look like a freaking capable rock climber.
Yeah, I was pretty good.
I think I was like a 5'7" guy.
I was getting up to 5'11s, 5'11Bs, somewhere pretty good stuff. But so I was doing some climbing. It was just me, and it was late at night, and I had a gree, which is a self-catching device. But you've got to have both ends of the rope go through it, or there's nothing for it to catch on, so it'll just slide through and you'll fall and die. I made a couple climbs, sitting there waiting on them. They're not here showing up yet, so I make a few more. Get to the top, and I go to rappel down, and I guess this is probably about 110 foot cliff, and I go to rappel down, and I noticed my rope kind of felt funny. I was like, whatever. And I just pushed off, and I felt the other end of the rope slip through my hand, because I normally keep my
and it goes through that little U thing, or the double U thing.
Through my gree, through my harness, and literally I cinched my hand real quick, and there was about 2 inches of rope left. So I'm holding both ends of the rope. One is real long, hanging down, and the other one's only got about 2 inches. And if I let go of that one side of that rope, I'm falling to my death.
Right.
I'm sitting there,
and you're
holding
halfway down, like you're off the cliff.
I'm probably, 20 feet down at this point, holding, just like with one hand, the one side of the rope. And normally it's crazy, because your left hand, like whenever you're like rappelling, you don't really want to put your left hand there, because you could get burned from the rope. Right. So it's just crazy that I had both my hands right there and felt it go through. And I remember I was squeezing so tight that the nail actually started breaking away from my hand, and there was like blood coming down my fingers from my hand squeezing so hard.
You're like, I hope I don't bleed enough on this rope that it gets too slippery for me to freaking hold on to it.
It was so freaking crazy. I didn't make one noise. Not one. Like, it was the dead quietest it's ever been in my life. And I remember just like, and just literally grabbed.
You were able to climb
up the damn rope, got up, sat there, and just like blown the hell away for a minute. It was like, what the fuck was that? That was an egregious mistake. Because when you're climbing, make sure both ends of the rope are on the ground. And I had done some climbs, and I went back, and I guess the rope shimmied. Overly confident. That's the thing there. But yeah, so
wow, dude.
I get down, and I'm shocked, and I get a phone call not 5 minutes later after getting down, and it's Alex, and she says, I just took a pregnancy test. I'm pregnant.
Oh shit.
Yeah, it was that moment. He could have been dead.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
That would have changed your journey.
Yeah.
It
would have changed my life forever. I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that might be up there with the craziest.
Just because
it was.
I guess we have a shared crazy experience.
Yeah.
It was.
It was that whole year was crazy.
Love you guys.
Yeah,
sincerely.
Love you.
Yeah. See you again.
Thank you for listening to this episode. This is Alma Ferrer, producer of the Loco Experience podcast. If you enjoyed this program and would like to support the show, please share it with your favorite people and leave us a review. To see upcoming guests, behind-the-scenes footage, and more, follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn at The Loco Experience. Subscribe to never miss the latest interview, and until next time, stay loco.